everyone hear me? Anyone have problems hearing me? All right. Looks like it's noon, so if folks can continue to come in and get situated. We'll start here in a minute. Give everyone about 30 more seconds. And
oh, hey,
all
Christopher.
folks are finally in,
How are you?
Say, I appreciate all the folks that were turn out today. We welcome your involvement, of course, and we appreciate your time.
Camera works maybe.
And thanks to the POA for helping us get this forum lined up, this particular venue. We appreciate the assistance in that. All right, so if I can have everyone's attention. And then we'll entertain questions here in a minute. All right, so again, everyone, welcome to this community forum. And my name is Stuart Spencer. I'm an Associate Director at the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. I'm the Associate Director of the Office of Air Quality, and I will be heading up today's forum. And before we start, I wanted to give you all the lay of the land and how we anticipate this particular event playing out today. As you can see in the back of the room, we have a number of tables, and we're excited that we have a number of state agencies here, as well as the National Weather Service. We know that the questions we've received and the interest we've received on this project have been far-reaching and widespread as far as the number of topics that folks here have concerns regarding. We have an ADEQ table, or maybe more than one table. We have a number of individuals here today with us from ADEQ, our Office of Air Quality, Water Quality, and Land Resources. They're all represented here. So if you have individual questions about any of those specific media, please feel free to approach the ADEQ table once I make my introductory remarks and give you my preliminary information. And please feel free to ask our personnel here today any questions that you might have. In addition to ADEQ, we have the Department of Emergency Management. We also have the Arkansas Department of Health. We have the National Weather Service, and we also have the Department of Human Services. And I believe there was an information sheet available to folks attending today's meeting that lists out some of those topics that those agencies would be able to answer for specific issues regarding questions and concerns that you might have. So again, welcome to today's forum. And I made the decision when I was putting the slides together that I'm not going to spend time on the history of this event, this incident. I know that everyone in this room knows what's happening and doesn't need me to walk through a timeline. So I'm aware of that, and so let's just get right into it. All right, so as most of you know, we put a summary of a proposal for site at work on our website, and we open that up for public participation, public input. When we were assessing the proposals to deal with the incident at the Trafalger Road Site, there were a number of factors that our staff evaluated, and those factors are listed on this particular slide. And a lot of them are common sense, and I don't want to talk to you guys like you don't understand these things, because I know you do, but I feel like it's necessary to walk through them just so you can have a background of what we were evaluating. First of all, we have to make sure, we wanted to ensure that the plan was viable. As most of you know, I know you've seen a lot of these purported proposals put out there in the public for public consumption. Some of these plans just didn't have any sort of viability, no legs to them. And so our staff evaluated them for the feasibility, like how well would these work. We're also very interested in the timeline to complete. One of the primary goals that we have at ADEQ is to work with our contractors to deal with the situation as quickly as we can and as expeditiously as we can. The cost, that's also important. I mean, as you know, we're the lead agency on this issue, and we're working with other agencies and our contractors to deal with the issue of Trafalgar Road, but that's going to cost money. And as you saw, there were some initial figures that were rather high, and so we have been working on ways to see where there are cost savings available that also meet those first two criteria of being viable, as far as putting the fire out, extinguishing the fire in an environmentally sound way, and also being timely. Anything that drags out the timeline cuts down on viability. Further impact to residents. And what that means is, what you're all seeing now, what you're experiencing is the smoke from the vents at the site. We're mindful that particular mitigation measures we could have could further exacerbate, or potentially further exacerbate the issues at the site, including water issues, things like that. We wanted to make sure that when we evaluated proposals, that there was no further potential environmental harm being done to the area and potentially impacting the residents. And that goes into my last bullet as well, which was that when we put out our proposed preliminary assessment for public input, we wanted to ensure the public and the residents would evaluate it with the primary goal being that it be the most environmentally sound method. All right. Okay. And so, as most of you may know, having read the preliminary proposal, what we were mindful of, you may recall that there was a water line run across Trafalger Road to create water resources and availability for potential firefighting efforts at the site. That was going to be, if that was utilized to its maximum potential, it would be a huge draw on the city's water resources. And we were mindful of that as we assessed these different proposals that we received. And so our preferred proposal is one that eliminates, I don't want to read straight from the slide, you can see, it just greatly reduces the need for us to pull upon that water resource. And as you see from the second bullet there, one of the options that we evaluated in our determining which was the best proposal was, what was the truck traffic going to look like? If the majority of this waste was hauled off site, that was going to necessitate a lot of truck traffic in and out of the area. And that does damage to the roads, it's noisy, it kicks up dust, and that also creates an issue. And so we were cognizant of that, and when we developed our plan, we were mindful in choosing a proposal that reduces the number of dump trucks that will be required to be traveling up and down Trafalger Road. There were a number of different general components to our plan, the proposed plan, and I've got those listed here. I'll just read through them quickly. I know you all can read. Fire control, which is the predominant issue that we're dealing with here. I mean, once we control the fire, the other issues will be secondary. I mean, they're important as well, but the public impact is primarily, you see the most impactful issues resulting from the smoke emanating from the site. So fire control was paramount. Excavation, which is the preferred method for us to deal with the ultimate extinguishment of the site, of the fire at the site. Sorting and preparation, or sorting and separation of the waste materials, what we extract from the site when we excavate, those have to be distinguished. Is it vegetative? Is it non-vegetative? Is it something that is potentially hazardous? Those decisions have to be made. Wood waste management. How are we going to manage what we remove from the site? Is it going to be put back in place? Is that even lawful? This was an unpermitted site, so how do we do that? And the method that was preferred was to use airbox or burn boxes for that kind of, using air curtain technology, and I'll discuss more on that in a minute. Waste material relocation. As I mentioned, our preferred proposal reduces the amount or the number of trucks that are going to be running up and down Trafalger Road and out into the community to dispose of waste. However, there will be some waste that is excavated from the site that will require proper disposal at landfills. And so our preliminary plan includes discussion of waste material relocation. And finally, folks may wonder what's going to happen to the site once the work is done. And so the final component of our proposal was site restoration and what all that will entail. All right, so the fire control. And I'll just get to the spoiler alert, at the bottom of the slide. The goal in our proposal, our preferred proposal, is to have the fire controlled within 30 days. And I'll get more in a minute on what that means. But as far as fire control and how that will be realized, we will have we plan on having certified, experienced fire personnel on site for the duration of the project. And as I mentioned, the goal is to have that fire to a level where it's contained and controlled within 30 days of the beginning of the excavation work. All right, so the excavation, that's the primary component. When the work starts in earnest, the heavy equipment will be brought in and to scoop out what's in the pile of debris. The best estimates are that there are 175,000 to 225,000 cubic yards of material at this site, at the Trafalger Road site. And once that's excavated, it will be removed to another site, a staging area on site, where the materials will be separated and sorted based on whether or not they can be incinerated, are they vegetated, can they be put in the burn box. If not, they'll have to be sorted and potentially removed to a landfill for proper disposal. And there are two bullets, one on this slide and one on another. They may seem like they run counter to each other, but I'll explain a little bit better. This bullet says, work is expected only during daylight hours. And that is true as far as the heavy equipment, what's going to be used to pull the material out of the site. That work will be done in daylight hours. The proposal is for that to happen from roughly 7 to 7. And this is an aggressive schedule, and it's purposefully aggressive. It's meant to be something that can be done expeditiously, and so the work will be done for 12-hour periods of time during the day. That excavation and separating and all of that. So as I mentioned, once the material is excavated, it's required, our proposal is that it's taken to a separate site where it's determined at that point whether or not the vegetated material can be dropped in the burn boxes for incineration that way, or whether it has to be taken off to a separate proper disposal area if it's another kind of waste. And the technology, I'll get to in a minute, like I said, on the burn boxes, but in order for them to run the most efficient that they can, to their best efficiency, you need to reach a high temperature, and they have to be loaded at an optimal level. And so, as I said, that kind of feeds into that last bullet there, that the materials will be sorted to achieve complete combustion using the air curtain technology. All right. So some of you may be asking, what is an air curtain? I mean, it sounds like something coming off like that back there on the sides of the room. It's actually a big box. It looks almost like a shipping container that is above ground. The bottom is level with the surface of the ground. It's loaded with the vegetated material. There is a curtain of air that is operated via a motor on the unit, which pushes air over the air curtain incinerator, the air curtain burn box. And what that does is, once the material is loaded, it's lit, it's got a good heat, it reaches optimal temperature. You've got that good base going where you've got the char at the bottom, the char, basically hot red burning material. You've got optimum operation at that point. You don't want to overfeed these boxes. They don't work well if you overfeed them. So part of the precision will be figuring out how much to load per box and getting that sweet spot. And once you reach that sweet spot in these burn boxes, the air curtain essentially works as a control mechanism and keeps those embers and other particles from coming out. You're actually mitigating smoke exposure through this technology. It's been proven, folks around the state have used it, especially in disaster incidences. If you have a tornado or some other natural disaster that comes through, knocks down a bunch of trees, other vegetated material, burn boxes are oftentimes the preferred method to deal with that. They're efficient, and they also they temper the smoke that the residents will be exposed to through that kind of disposal. This is just another slide on the air curtain technology. One of the, like I said, cost was one of the issues that we considered in our evaluation of the proposed plan. The burn boxes eliminate close to between $11 and $15 million from initial proposals we received. A lot of that is because the waste can be handled on site rather than being hauled off. That was a large expense. And like I said, the burn boxes also provide proven control technology for air emissions. The proposal allows, or the proposed strategy allows for up to 5 units to be used at any one time. And the way we envision this working is that the debris will be excavated, staged to determine whether or not it's vegetated or not. If it is vegetated, the vegetated material can be dropped into boxes and distributed to make sure that we don't overfill any one box, where the multiple boxes can be working at the same time. And this is where I said there may be a perceived disparity or incongruence with the two bullet points. I showed you a slide that said daylight operation. This says 24-hour operation. So the heavy equipment, as I said, is in, our proposal calls for it to work during daylight hours. However, the burn boxes need to work on a 24/7 basis. If they don't, they lose their heat. You have to get them hot again. You lose the efficiency of the units, and so 24-hour operation just means that those are going, if something's been staged in the staging area, that will be brought to the boxes to incinerate on a 24/7 basis. I've touched on this already, but if there is other material that is among the material that's excavated, that's not vegetated, including this bulleted list that you see here, metal, tires, construction material, hazardous substances, those will have to be dealt with accordingly. Those items cannot go in the burn boxes. That's not what they're designed for, and they will have to be disposed of in accordance with regulation, which normally means taking them to a permanent landfill. Finally, the site restoration. What's this place going to look like when this is all history? The proposed plan is to get it back to a natural state where we promote regrowth, and that will include restoration of trees, grass, if that's possible, and other vegetative material. And the folks who are going to be working on the site, both our contractors and subcontractors, you know, when the work starts in earnest, all of them that are required to operate certain types of machinery or be engaged in certain types of activities will have OSHA HAZWOPER training, which is essential for the kind of work they're going to be doing and required. The site will continuously be monitored for air emissions, and I will be able to speak more on that at this meeting. And finally, the site will have security, which includes the closed circuit television system, outdoor lighting, 24/7 security, and drones. I know that we've all, I can say me personally, I've appreciated the footage on ADEQ, that website, because it helps folks who aren't up in Bella Vista in the Little Rock office. We need that visual, and so I've appreciated that. Well, once the work starts on site, they will be using drones to secure the site and also to evaluate the site from an airborne perspective. So during the public engagement period, we received a number of comments from the community, and we appreciate those. As a public agency, that's part of our job, is to take that feedback and take that into our planning efforts. And so we brought today a handout that lists those categories of issues that we received. It kind of takes them and breaks them down into themes and is responsive to those. I'm not going to speak to the full detail of what's in that document, but I will try to run through some of the highlights. There were some questions asked about air curtain technology and what that means. I've already spoken about that today, and I do want to dispel any type of misunderstanding. The word incinerator is in the proper title of these types of equipment. It's an air curtain incinerator. This is not a large incinerator that you would see at any kind of regulated facility in the state. Like, these are transportable boxes. Like I said, they look like shipping containers. They don't have a stack. The stack, I mean, the material is burned inside. The air curtain mitigates the emissions. There's no cooling system. There's nothing like that. This is pretty straightforward yet tried and true technology with none of those other components that some commented on. And so that is just not what we're looking at in this instance for this type of equipment. And like I said, there is a control feature with the air curtain. The efficient combustion is realized when you load to a certain extent. You want to get the volume almost peak volume, but you don't want to overfill or you'll disturb the air curtain. it's important that we keep that curtain in place to mitigate the particulate matter. So one question has been, what does fire containment mean? And that will really materialize when our proposal goes into effect, where we have site activities which will be put in place to mitigate the smoke and contain the fire in place. There'll be an elevated hose, hopefully, where we envision a hose that is able to spot, quench any fires that happen to materialize during the work. I may not have this as a particular slide, but I'll just mention really quickly, there was a comment about flare-ups. Flare-ups are expected. Once you open the debris up at the Trafalger Site, as most of you understand, there are pockets of air and pockets of debris, and who knows what it looks like underneath. It's cavernous. If you expose some of this material to oxygen, it's going to provide the fuel that's needed for combustion. And so the fire control on site will be that wetting apparatus, the hose. There will be hopefully a mister, some kind of misting technology that will be used to dampen whatever comes out of the site. And also there will be multiple layers of air quality monitoring, on-site, perimeter, and off-site. And we have folks available here to discuss that once I'm done. We're also developing or finalizing a notification system. We've had preliminary discussions with emergency management and with the Department of Health about how to inform the public and when to inform the public if the level of a certain pollutant reaches a certain alarm level.
Like it has been?
As determined by the Department of Health and ADEQ and EPA. All right, so the sorting of waste this is another issue that we received comment on, and the question was, what's going to be placed in these burn boxes generally? Is this going to be, what's going to happen to this other waste that you dig up, because a lot of it is unknown. And that's something that we've all agreed on, that we don't know the extent of what is in this pile at this site until we open it up. It's to be determined. And we will be able to segregate the waste on site. That will be part of the staging area and deal with it appropriately. And as I mentioned, there will be no improper disposal of material in the burn boxes. If anything is contaminated or determined to be contaminated, it will not be incinerated. I alluded to this earlier, but we did receive some comments about, who are these folks doing this work, and are they going to have training? Making sure that they're really, we're utilizing folks who have the best knowledge they need to deal with the situations that they're going to uncover. And as I said, the workers will be required to have a number of different training courses. One of those is the 40-hour hazardous waste operations and emergency response certification. There will be firefighters proposed to be on site and trained according to standard firefighting guidelines. And also there's going to be an on-site construction and engineering oversight contractor to do continuous monitoring. And we've established a preliminary line of communication where anything that's an excursion of a pollutant that hits a perimeter monitoring station will be communicated to the department and to ADEQ, Department of Health, so we can adjust appropriately any work that needs to be adjusted to the scope of the work on site. Water quality, the primary issue of concern so far has manifested itself in the smoke emanating from the site. There was also a question about water quality. That was one of the areas of concern when we were drafting our proposal, not to create an opportunity for there to be for something to occur that degrades water quality. And so when the work starts, we'll be doing bi-weekly on-site sampling, monthly background sampling. And this is kind of buried in the water quality slide. I probably should have pulled it out, but also soil and sediment sampling. And there was a comment on the proposal that asked about the permitting exclusion for the burn boxes. There is a mechanism that EPA has established if this is an emergency situation, which it is. The permitting requirements for the burn boxes are relieved. there's an exclusion from that requirement. However, the equipment still has to work efficiently and according to specs, according to vendor specs, or else if it's not working properly, they're not going to get the incineration that they need. So, but there is a permitting exclusion to enable the work to work, the work to take off quicker and to be done more expeditiously. Now that's for the air boxes, the burn boxes. However, there are a number of water permits that are required, and one of those is a stormwater. A SWIP, I believe is the acronym. We've got water folks here to help further explain that. But it's a stormwater control permit essentially, and there will be a stormwater control plan that will detail, that will have some detail in the prevention plan. So the bottom line is that when we sent our proposal out to the public for consideration and review, we looked at these general things. Community protection, when this is, during the duration of the work and through completion. Cost effectiveness, as I said, now we're not only mitigating or trying to mitigate this situation as efficiently and as effectively as possible, but we're also a steward of taxpayer money. We're cognizant of that. We're cognizant that the same folks that are here that want quick relief are also folks that put money in that pay their taxes. So we're very aware of that. Speed to completion and minimal environmental impact. Timeline. This may be the most, it's a very general timeline, but as I mentioned, 30 days is the goal for the fire containment, 180 days to completion once the work starts. That's all the way through restoration. And then the final step is the site restoration. This may be a little bit of new information. Phase 1 started on April 4th. I don't know if any of you saw a preliminary timeline, but the construction, the site construction is expected to be completed April 26th. That is next week. So it's coming, sooner, a little sooner than we expected. And once that happens, we're ready to move in to phase 2, which is where the work starts in earnest with the excavation at the site. Finally, I'll end with this slide. There's been some question about cost recovery. Like, there's an understanding that the department is fronting the bill for this because we have been tasked with that by the governor to act on this situation. However, once our work is done, we are mandated by Arkansas law to seek cost recovery from responsible parties, and that will happen. So that's all there is to say on that. It's pretty straightforward. That will happen. And so now is when we hope that all of you that are here will engage with the folks we have in the room that can answer your specific questions. As I said, we have all three media from ADEQ here, ADH is here, Adam is here, Department of Human Services is here, National Weather Service is here. So please feel free to go to these particular stations for more information. And thank you. And please, if you didn't sign up, please do so. Thank you.
Check him out. Still good.